And just for the listeners out there, it's a very simple technique where you put your hands in front of your heart and you imagine that you have your younger self in front of you. And the reason why I always get people to imagine their younger self is because it takes the emotion of all the trauma that you might have had during your life from the age of maybe 5 or 4 upwards. And we are a product of our parents, preachers, teachers, and past relationships and experiences. And that means that we all see the world based on our past. And sometimes that past can be a little bit traumatic, and we might need to forgive people like parents or abusers or past relationship people. And when we do that, it can really set an energetic release. And
Doug, it's great to have you on the podcast.
Brody, an absolute pleasure.
I love it. Let's just dive right into it as we always do. Let's talk about forgiveness, and let's talk about the importance of forgiveness, especially if you're going through a traumatic event or overcoming a brain injury. Let's just talk about all that you know about forgiveness.
Yeah, I think forgiveness really starts with you. And I had a client, for example, who's blown up in the Brussels bombing, and she was literally thrown about 20 meters across the airport, thankfully not knocking into anything, but she did have to have her stomach removed, and she was an Olympic standard athlete beforehand, and then suddenly she was a very different person. And I worked with her to help her to be able to release the past and also to forgive the people who did what they did to them as well. Because, obviously she was a different person. She had a little bit of brain damage herself, and it had affected her walking, and she had to retrain in terms of being able to walk again and everything like that. But having been this super duper athlete, we went through a forgiveness technique, which the one that when you and I met in Dublin, I did it in front of 150 people, and we had some phenomenal things happen, which we can talk about in a second.
Including myself, by the way, just to throw
Oh,
it
did
out.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. And just for the listeners out there, it's a very simple technique where you put your hands in front of your heart and you imagine that you have your younger self in front of you. And the reason why I always get people to imagine their younger self is because it takes the emotion of all the trauma that you might have had during your life from the age of maybe 5 or 4 upwards. And we are a product of our parents, preachers, teachers, and past relationships and experiences. And that means that we all see the world based on our past. And sometimes that past can be a little bit traumatic, and we might need to forgive people like parents or abusers or past relationship people. And when we do that, it can really set an energetic release. And I've done this uh, exercise with so many people, and the results are phenomenal. Where I've just seen change between them and a parent or them and a past relationship. So what you do is you effectively put your hands in front of your heart. You imagine yourself as a 6 inch tall person, uh, you know, your younger self, that little kind of puppy dog eyed little kid looking up at you, looking for forgiveness, looking for love, basically. And you look down at it and him or her, and you say, I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, I let it all go. And you put that little version of yourself into your heart, and you imagine him or her in your heart in a state of love, as if you're giving the little guy or little girl a hug. And it's very, very therapeutic. And then you obviously then have to forgive the people you want to forgive as well. So if you went through something where, obviously with brain rescue and brain damage, it could be a situation where you were a policeman or an army officer or something like that, and you might have got shot, and that caused the brain damage. So sometimes we hold on to these grudges, but if we can release that and let go of that, it can help us move forward in life so we can focus on what we want in life rather than focusing on the past. Because when we go into the energy of the past, sometimes we recreate the feelings and we recreate similar effects in our life as well in terms of experiences. So being able to let go of that and forgive that is amazing. So what I often do, I've had some people on stage do this with me as well, where they'll go up and they'll do themselves first. I love you. I forgive you. I'm sorry. I let it all go. How lovely. And then it comes on to the person they need to forgive, and they go, I love you. I forgive you. I'm sorry. And they put them in as if to say, fuck you, kind of thing. If I hope I can swear on your podcast. But this is the thing. And so it really has to be done with an energy of truly forgiving and truly letting go. So if it's, say, a father or a mother that you might have had difficult relationships with, which is always a good place to start, and we normally always have something about a father or mother, even if they've been really good parents, because they might have spoilt us, for example.
Mhm.
So we might then have to go, I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, and I let it all go. Boom. And you
Mhm.
might say, why should I forgive them? Well, you're not necessarily forgiving them for them, you're forgiving them for you. Because we all sometimes hold on to this kind of like dis-ease, this kind of tension inside sometimes. And sometimes it's on a subconscious basis where we don't even know about it. So to be able to release that, it's amazing how sometimes these patterns can change. And people come to me, even business people, and they say to me, Doug, this is a bit woo-woo. Why would I do this? And I said, well, look, money is an exchange for energy, and energy is optimized when you're in the optimized energetic state, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So if you can release all the shit, all the crap, all the past as such,
Mhm.
so that you don't have tension and so that you can focus very directly on your goals and not be distracted by triggers and traumas and parental programs, you'll get more done in less time with less stress. So that's why it's so important to be able to use this forgiveness technique to do it. And as you saw when I did it in front of 150 people, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we had that the lady who put her hand up, stopped me in the middle of the next section of the presentation. And she said, Doug, I have to say, I've just literally had a girlfriend of mine who I'd, not spoken to for a year or two. We'd had a terrible argument. I was never going to speak to her again. She was never going to speak to me again. And she's just sent me a message literally 2 minutes after your forgiveness technique finished saying, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Let's be friends again. And then, as I did a video on the WhatsApp group that we're both in, I had another lady who came up and had exactly the same thing. And I'm sure you mentioned you had something. I'm sure there's other people that had something even a week later that just positively, changed their life in some way or form. I don't know what you had.
Yeah, it really was, and I don't say this lightly. It was magical and almost like enchanting. I've done work like that before, but it was just maybe the energy of the room that facilitated it. But when I brought it into my heart like that, it was really strong. It was a really strong sensation, and I saw like this vibrational, and you led us through this like this vibrational purple electromagnetic pulse or something like that, and that was
That was
powerful.
Yeah, so that was on the next part of the healing process as well, where what happens is that we all have energy within us, and some people call it the soul, but it's energy really, right? So an energy
Mhm.
never dissipates, as Einstein said, it just moves from one form to another. So having had a near-death experience where I was surrounded by this amazing energy, that led me down this path, going from hedge funds to healing. And during that time period, I've kind of done like you. I've read almost every psychology book in the planet I could possibly get my hands on. I've studied neuroscience. I've studied many other things. I've got no qualifications in neuroscience, but I have read every book under the sun. And what I can see is that I sometimes believe that this energy that we have is interconnected because quite often we speak about somebody or think about a friend or something like that, and then we might get a text, we might see them on Facebook, or suddenly we might get a call, or we might even bump into them. So I truly believe that there's an energetic connection that we're all connected through energy. And I've seen this phenomenally. I've done healings of people where they've been in Boston. There was one particular guy, he was in Boston, he was in an ICU unit, his family were all around them. I knew the uncle because I'd done a healing on the uncle's mother. I'd healed her knees. I was over in Dharamshala visiting the Dalai Lama, and I was staying in his family luxury hotel. And anyway, so he phoned me up and said, "Look, we're desperate. Would you help? My nephew's in a coma. Going over to see my sister," and she just said, "Do you know anybody who could help?" So why I'm telling you this is because the healing that I do obviously works, when I'm face to face, but I actually did this like this on Zoom. They were on the phone, they were in the ICU unit. I started doing the similar thing that I did in terms of the healing with you at the conference, and
Mhm.
no joke, the guy woke up. Yeah, and I've got a testimony to showcase that. And I was taken aback by it. I did not expect it at all. And I actually went from this very tranquil, loving, healing energy, shall we say, to suddenly going, holy crap. And I was taken aback by it. It actually brought me out of the zone a little bit as well. And I think, that proves that there is energy connection all around us. And
Mhm.
we can send, and when we send positive thoughts to people, they can feel it. So if you have someone that you're angry at, it's much better to send them love than send them anger, because it'll make you feel better for one,
Yeah.
make you feel more empowered for two, and thirdly, I truly believe they'll feel it. So it's, whether you be in work, in a relationship, in a mother, father, brother, sister, son, daughter relation, whatever, love is always the answer. And I always say love is an acronym for lots of vibrant energy. So send that out to people and
Mm.
you'll receive it back as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, so look, the first part of the healing exercise that I did with you guys was obviously that forgiveness technique. And I've done this before with people. I'm not going to mention names, but I did it with one particular person. They'd done something wrong, and the next day they rang me up and said, "Look, I'm really sorry." So again, they can feel it. People can feel it. So
Hmm.
the brain is an amazing tool that I wonder whether it is just a storage unit or whether it's a receptor as well, in terms of a beacon to be able to connect into universal consciousness, whatever people might believe in, to be able to download messages. Because as I was saying before we went live, I wrote my book. When I wrote my book, the best time for me to write that was when I was not. Even in my house now, I have houses there, all around me. And, where I went to my country house, I was able to sit there with nobody around me. And I truly believe that, energy, it works in waves, and it can be voice energy, but it can also be thought energy. And based on that, I believe that the brain is a receptor to pick up on those. And that's why psychic people are able to pick up on certain things. And that's why I think I was able to do my book in a much more a state of flow, because the only energy that I was picking up on was my own. And maybe divine intelligence. Whereas instead, when I'm around here, there's people everywhere. There's Wi-Fi and everything like that. And actually, I find I sleep much better when there isn't Wi-Fi on as well. So
Hmm.
our brain is, in my belief, is a receptor in some way or form. And when I was doing the healing, for example, and when I did those two talks that you saw, I'd actually only I had a very bad sleep. I maybe had 3 or 4 hours sleep the night before. Um, we'd been away and whatever, out of time zones. And when I arrived, I was absolutely shattered. But again, I went into a heartfelt space, and I believe, linking this to this is incredibly important in your life, because sometimes we get wrapped up in our brain where it's a state of ego, edging God out. But if you get into the place of love, then we always aim to bless rather than impress sometimes, which we do in our ego state. So by doing that, I just surrendered to giving and surrendered to really trying to add value to people rather than trying to look good. And interestingly enough, because I had no fear then going on stage, I spoke more concisely, I spoke more clearly. And actually, Gosha said, "Oh, that was the funniest you ever were." And I said to myself, Cheney, considering how tired I was, that's amazing. But I think it was just pure surrender. And I think a lot of people, when I explained that to people in the healing before I did that at the conference, that was what we did. And then obviously went on. You mentioned about the violet light. There's a process that I take, which we can go through if you want, in terms of a guided meditation. It's a healing meditation because I'm a master teacher healer of 5 modalities of healing. So I kind of made this up, this guided meditation. And part of it is bringing down different colors, or what I would call strands of energy, because a color is basically a different frequency of energy, and that's why we see it in a different way. So I talk about angels to people if they believe in that kind of stuff as just frequency of different frequencies from divine intelligence, bringing down different messages or different strands of healing energy or positive energy in some way or form. And you mentioned violet, and violet is actually the highest frequency of energy that,
Hmm.
sorry, colored energy that there is.
Yeah.
So that's why I brought that in the state of intention.
Beautiful. And I'm going to save that for the end, just so people have the motivation to keep watching till the end. Um, I feel that forgiveness is it's complex. Just trauma can be complex. It's really interesting because I found it very easy. All right, not easy, but over time, I've forgiven the man who assaulted me outside of a nightclub 12 years ago, that over 100,000 people saw me getting knocked out. People may or may not know about that. It was a news video, and it was my worst moment broadcast to the entire world. And guilty. Ironically, it's turning out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. But at that time, forgive that man, that bouncer who did that. But I find it more difficult for some reason to forgive pettier things. Like, if that makes sense. Does that
Yeah.
make? Yeah.
Yeah, and do you know what? This is really important for people to understand in relationships. And I mentioned this as well in the actual one of the speeches I did with the morning speech. Whereas we have two people in a relationship, and each have their own expectations and intentions and what they're trying to achieve, and their needs as well. And this
Hmm.
person sometimes goes, "I want this." And I'm not getting it from that person, so they're a so and so. And then this person goes, "Well, I want this, and I'm not getting it for that person." And they both think they're like narcissists or something like that. And all it is just a difference of opinion or a difference of expectations, is because they're not getting it. Instead of taking responsibility for themselves, they are pointing the finger. And when we point the finger, as you can see, there are three pointing back at you. So if we can take responsibility for our own self in terms of our, talking of neuroplasticity and stuff like that, if we can
Yep.
take responsibility for the way we think, the way we speak, and the way we act, it's amazing how we change that, and you change your personality as such, you actually can change your personal reality as well. And it's amazing how the people around you either change and leave your life because the vibration is your vibe attracts your tribe. So they either leave because you don't suit them, or they perceive you in a different way. So they treat you in a different way. And that's why it's so important just to take personal responsibility for everything. So I used to be a bit of a blamer, I have to say. And
Yeah.
then and actually one of the things when we get into this kind of like, I'm a a mindset coach, mental health professional, and all that kind of stuff, as well as the business stuff. And I often find myself now, when I take responsibility, it changes everything. It means, hold on a minute, okay, so that person's been horrible to me. Maybe it's nothing to do with me. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe their wife, their brother, their sister, their mother, father did something to them, or something happened to them, and they're just upset. So instead of blaming them and having angst or anger towards them, maybe try and have empathy and compassion towards them, and change the reality of the situation, and ask them questions rather than making assumptions. And maybe you can change through good communication to understand how you might be able to help them. Because sometimes hurt people, but also sometimes when you're the closest and nearest and dearest to somebody who's having a bad time, they just spiel out everything onto you because you're the closest person to you. So instead of being upset about that, it's kind of to embrace that with love.
That's very wise, and I see your book behind you, Charge Yourself Up for Success. A few questions. Number one, how do you charge yourself up for success? And what are the benefits of doing that? And what really is success in your mind?
Well, I'll start with the first one. Sorry, the second question was, is what is success? And for me, for success is your heart self, finding out what your true heart self mission is in life, and going out there and achieving it in whatever way you do. And that's what I do. So I help people, connect to their heart selves, connecting to a sense of purpose, a sense of why. And then once they're there, then in a grounded sense, if it's a business basis, then I help them in terms of all the different tools that I have. I've obviously, I've had a radio show, I've had, spoken all around the world at Cambridge University, Stanford University, and so on. So what I'm saying is that success is down to you. It's unique to you. It doesn't necessarily mean about money, because I have been in the hedge fund world and I have earned
Mhm.
a lot of money in the past. And there's
Yeah.
too many of us who think they'll be happy when they have this, and then they think they'll be happy when they have that, and then they think they'll be happy with that, and they're never happy. And true happiness is being happy in the moment, in the present moment. And actually, I think, seeking happiness as a form of success is not always the best thing, because actually the universe is made up of darkness and light, ups and downs, good times and bad times. So if you're going to be happy, there's going to be times where you're going to be so happy, then you're comparing it to that happiness and you're not quite as happy. So
Mhm.
actually, it's actually being able to, real life is being able to create balance and peace and harmony, where you know that you can go into the dark times, the tough times, with those emotion and commotions of those difficult people. And instead of like getting wrapped up in the emotion and commotion, being upset about it, is to ask yourself, how can I learn from this situation? How can I grow from this situation? And how can I maybe help others from the learnings that I have here as well? And if you gamify life in that way, it can really help making life feel even more successful. But I will say one other thing in terms of success in life, it's to enjoy life. And I mentioned before in the speech that you saw, the greatest gift that we have as human beings, as a spirit, well, I always say spiritual beings having human existence, is the five senses. The gift of being able to see the sun, the sea, the stars, and the people that you love. The gift of being able to hear the whistle of the wind, or if you're a dad like me, your child saying, "Daddy, I love you." The gift of being able to taste wine or a chocolate, or the gift of being able to smell a rose, and my favorite, the gift of touch in terms of a hug or a kiss. And they are the true gifts of life. And if we break life down into the smaller parts of that and be grateful for that, truly grateful for that, you'll find your mental health will massively improve, because you can, there's people that you and I have probably worked with who cannot see, who cannot hear, and you can, and we can. So be truly grateful for those, because it's it can really hit. Now, and going back to how do you charge yourself up for success? Well, the first bit, as I said, is to find that purpose. And how do we find purpose? I say there's a few ways. Number
Mhm.
one is to write down all the things that you absolutely love doing, whatever they are. Then number two, write down all the things that you're gifted or good at doing. And then number three, write down all the things that you know that you can add value to the world and maybe make some money out of as well, because we've got to live, right? And obviously, as I said earlier on, money's exchange for energy. So by doing that, then you can have a look at, okay, what am I gifted doing? What am I love doing? And what can I add value to people? Find a match, or maybe even a few matches, and that give you a path to start with. Or another way of looking at it is, I've spoken on stage. You have. We've spoken on stage. I've spoken on stage in front of 4,500 people. If I was to give anybody out there a stage in front of 10,000 people and beam it out on my podcast or your podcast to the 8 billion people around the planet, what, if you're 94 years of age, what would you be most passionate about? What
Mhm.
legacy would you like to leave? What message would you like to give? And when you know what that is, that's a good idea that you know that you're passionate about that. Then reverse engineer yourself back to where you are today and ask yourself, what do I need to learn? Who do I need to model? Who do I need to work with to be able to stand on that stage, give that speech, and leave that legacy? Or in terms of purpose, which you and I have done, is to have a look at the stuff that's happened in your life, the messes as such, and and turn them into messages to give them meaning to help other people in some way or form, or turn your tragedy into a triumph to help others. And that's a
Yeah.
really good path to go on. But there are people out there that might be stuck in a job, they have to pay bills, they got family, and they can't move, they can't change. That's
Yeah.
fine. Well, then have a look at the energetics of what you do and how it adds value to an end customer in some way or form. Even if you're the secretary helping a salesperson who then sells the product, and the product helps them, maybe an entrepreneur, make more money, have an easier time, whatever.
Mhm.
You have some way of making people's lives better if you think about it. And that'll give you a bit more purpose and passion. Once you have that, then, even though we have that heartfelt purpose and that why, and that we know where we're going, sometimes when we have that path to our goal, there's stuff in the way. There's hurdles and blocks and walls, and they can be, fear, procrastination, worry. It can be control, jealousy, whatever it might be, because they could be goals for relationships, it could be goals for health, it could be goals for work, and we have to create a state of self-awareness in terms of understanding what they are, because some people are oblivious to them. So I have a purpose-driven awareness technique which I utilize, and I obviously showcased in the thing. It's in the book as well. I'm not going to share it now. You have to read the book. And if you have a look in there, it talks about how people can reframe the different things they're looking at and change their mindset through neuroplasticity to be able to create different patterns of thinking, speaking, and acting. And I did this with a lady, trigger warning now, who had been raped at 14 and then went into a arranged marriage where she was literally used as a sex slave, locked in the basement for 3 years. She escaped the marriage, suffering from massive PTSD, and she then managed to take this, and she came to me, and I was able to reframe her mind in terms of being able to, one, turn her mess into a message and give it meaning. Two, get rid of those blockages and those past things. Three, we did the forgiveness technique as well to be able to help her release those people. Because actually, when you have someone who's a perpetrator as bad as that, if you
Mhm.
can look at it in a top-down perspective, understanding, okay, was he bullied? Was he abused? Or did he have something horrific happen in his life when he was a kid that made him a hurt person hurting other people? And
Mhm.
actually, she knew that he had. So again, that kind of gives you not a case of straight forgiveness, but a
Yeah.
start in terms of understanding as well. So that's it. So number one is to find your purpose. Number two is to clear the path out of the way to be able to get towards that. Number three, then I talk a lot about energy and how to optimize your energy to optimize your performance in life. And I also talk a lot about emotional intelligence and how to improve that in terms of self-awareness, conscious communication. Your word is your wand, I always say, and your sentences you say can be the sentences you condemn yourself and others too. So speak for what you want rather than what you don't want. Empathy and compassion, so put yourself in other people's shoes. Resilience, in terms of emotional resilience, to be able to self-regulate when you get into those difficult situations, and then creating that motivation or inspiration as such as well in your life as well. So they're all talked about in there. it's a quite generalized book to give you more energy, get rid of the blockages, find purpose, improve your relationships, and maybe get more focused so you can get more done in less time with less stress.
How did you change your identity? What did that identity shift look like for you, someone coming out of the finance world, to do what you're doing now? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I was working in the finance world back in 2008. I'm sure everybody remembers the markets fell through the floor.
Yep.
And at that point, we had to lay off a lot of people, and I was fine because I was doing very well, but it was horrible being able to see these people carrying boxes out of the office who are good people who just based on, profitability going down so much, it suddenly caused us a problem in terms of then suddenly having to lay these off. Anyway, so I didn't realize then, but as I said earlier on, energetically we're all interconnected, and that energetic connection, I had a lot of feelings for these people because I could almost feel them.
Yeah.
And going into the city at that time, into London where I was working, it was horrible. So I ended up getting stressed, and that stress led to ailments, to doctors, to specialists, to two operations that went wrong. 4 years of chronic pain, like I was being punched in the stomach, not being able to sleep properly. It was horrible, and it helped. Well, it didn't help. Sorry, it instigated a marriage breakdown because obviously I wasn't sleeping well, it was affecting my wife and all that kind of stuff, and then that led to unfortunately marriage breakdown. But then in 2008, sorry, 2013, I then had the norovirus, which is like a stomach bomb.
Mm.
And with the stuff that I'd had in my, operations, you didn't want to get that, and that led to serious dehydration. 10 days of running to the toilet and all that kind of stuff was horrible, and my electrolytes went down to almost zero, and I was getting heart, pain, and ECG on the ambulance said heart blood pressure doubled. Arrived into A&E, was then rushed down to X-ray, and on the way down to X-ray, I suddenly passed away into this amazing feeling of love, energy, and connection. Nothing like I'd ever felt before. It's just this like glowing love feeling all around me. And there was no man with a beard, but there was this living, conscious, loving energy that was, bounding and almost consciously talking to me, not with a voice, but with a knowing. And it almost just said, look, or he, she, it, whatever, said, you need to change your life in some way or form. And that's when I started then to get into, initially, selfishly, to heal myself. I got into healing and I became a master teacher healer of 5 modalities of healing to selfishly heal myself. And then one day, my son he stepped on a huge splinter. We were going to have to go to hospital. I just said to my ex-wife, because we were about an hour away from the hospital, she was like, try my healing. And she looked at me as if I had two heads. But I gave it a go and put my hands on his feet, visualized and said a few prayers that this thing came out. And I didn't. It didn't come out straight away, but then like 2 minutes later, my son said, "Daddy, Daddy, I didn't touch it. I swear, I didn't touch it. It just came out. I don't know how it did, but it just came out." And that then led to me doing a few family members because they heard about it. It worked on them as well. And then I started doing other people in terms of I've done everything from sports stars. I had one guy who had a knee problem. He was told he'd never walk again, not run, sorry, run again. And I did a healing on him, and he ran the marathon. Had someone who couldn't pick up his grandchildren because he had a lorry accident, truck accident, and then he was fine afterwards, which his wife was delighted because he was able to mow the lawn again. He hadn't done that for 5 years. So that kind of thing kind of helped. And I think, again, people might ask me how that works. Well, that comes down to the brain, the connection, bringing energy in, bringing the energy into the heart, creating love around it. And every single cell in your body is interconnected, not through glue, but through a vibrational energy. So when there's a knock somewhere, that vibrational energy is knocked out of sync. So it's just a case of connecting back into universal consciousness, bringing the energy into the heart, sending that energy round into the area, and through intention, through visualization, through love, through prayers, through whatever, it works. And
Hmm.
if I was speaking like this, I don't know, what are we now, 25? So for speaking like this 15 years ago, I would have thought I'd been drinking. But I've
Yeah.
witnessed it and seen it, and over and over and over again. I had a lady come in earlier on, and she was like here and literally suffering from a little bit of stress and everything like that. And she kind of said she feels like she's floating out the door because there's some people, you go into a shopping center or you meet someone negative, and sometimes you come out feeling drained, like you're kind of like And I'm
Mm,
sure people have had that, right? So I think we pick up on other people's energies, and I think I have an ability through connection to be able to clear that off people, and that's what I was doing in the exercise that I'll do at the end here as well, in terms of helping people release energy that they may be holding on to, either through their own thoughts or through picking up through other people, and then hopefully they feel better afterwards as well. Spring cleaning, as such, as I say.
I see. What is your view on why there's, it just seems intuitively like there's a lot of people that feel purposeless, especially with the advent of AI and all the fears with all of this. It just feels like the world's kind of in a weird spot right now. With your wisdom, and you've seen the ebbs and flows of society and all of those things, like where do you think we really are as like a society, and where do you think we're headed, basically?
Yeah, so if we take the field that we're in a little bit, like people are talking about how AI could actually, give mental health advice, and it does,
Hmm.
and some of it is good, but
Yep.
let's say you have a teenage child who has gone through maybe a divorce of parents, or maybe not even haven't had a divorce of parents. Maybe they're just, they're in their teenage hormones or whatever, and they're screaming at their father or mother saying, "I hate you," which happens, right, quite
Yep.
regularly.
Hmm.
And the mother or father turns around and says, "No, well, I love you," and they, "I hate you." And if that was said to an AI, they might think and give lots of different ideas of how to solve that and what to do, and but actually, what actually really is happening is the child is hurting so much inside, they're just projecting that out to the other person, and they don't necessarily really hate the person.
Yeah.
And also, when a child is going through that stuff and maybe being a bit naughty in the teenage years, and maybe a parent, because we're all learning as parents all the time, is giving advice. I sometimes say when you give advice, you add a vice, especially on a teenager.
Hmm.
So sometimes it's important to be able to understand. And when they say "I hate you," you just keep saying, "Well, I love you." Because I've heard of many people have had that situation where "I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I love," and eventually the teenager bursts into tears, cries,
Hmm.
"I love you too, I just don't know you," and it often happens. And I don't think an AI would be able to pick up on that. So there are certain parts of AI that they just won't understand because they won't have had the personal experience. They can just read things, obviously, but in the moment, that's the one thing. And the other thing about AI, right? There's a lot of people who are using AI now for obviously business and everything like that, and that's great. But I can tell you, with 28 years, whatever, in industry and stuff like that, you can have the most intelligent people in the world. But if they don't have had the experience of going through the turmoil, the really tough times, and actually have that experience and stuff, and you need to make decisions in the moment in business or in an ICU unit or something like that, that could change the person's life, save the business, whatever it might be, or even if you're like me in the old days, excuse me, fund management orientated stuff. Yeah, AI can have a look at all the news. It can have a look at all the data and make decisions, and it does make good decisions in terms of stocks and stuff like that. But if there's something like maybe a CEO or managing director or something like that who's really key influence in the business, who suddenly leaves, nobody can really make a decision on that business and where the stock's going to go until they know who the new CEO is or the new managing director is and what
Hmm.
the vision is and what the plan is and everything like that. So there are different aspects of AI that will never work. Obviously, as an energy healer, you can't do that in AI. As a parenting, AI can give advice, but it hasn't got the emotional contact to be able to do that. There is if you and I, which I'll give you next time. If you and I have a hug, and it's a meaningful, I would say, have a 20-second hug. If it's a meaningful hug, you can feel that energy.
Hmm.
Whereas if an AI, a bot, even if they made a bot, even if they made it have heat, even if it
Yeah.
made it have all the emotions, like fake emotions, there's an energy that you're never going to feel from that heart to heart connection. So there's lots of stuff in terms of AI that will never ever replace human touch, human connection, and everything like that. And even in sales, which obviously I've been in sales in the past as well, head of sales,
Yeah.
um, there is like everybody's talking about, oh yeah, it's all about social media and everything like that. But actually, the most successful sales that I still have now is when I pick the phone up and I meet the person and we make an energetic connection. And
Hmm.
there's a massive difference than any AI that can ever do that. They can send the emails, yes. They can make fake AIs, yes. They can have fake videos, yes. But there's still an energy that people feel and they see in the moment. And that's why people still go to conferences, to summits, to events like when you and I were doing it, because it's a lot different than looking on YouTube at something and doing it. And when I do the healing, by the way, later on, there's probably going to be people listening and thinking, oh, yeah, I can do the healing now. I don't need to go to him. But actually, in this moment, when I'm doing the healing, in that moment, in that present
Hmm.
moment, there is an energy connection in that moment,
Hmm.
not after in a repeat video, in the moment. And that's what makes the difference of being in the present moment. That's why they always say past is history, the future is a mystery, the present is a gift, so live in the now. And that's why living in the now, being in the now, and connecting in the now is what makes the difference. Now, in healing, what I can do is I can connect to that energy, bring that down, and bring it into another person in that moment. And if they were listening to this podcast live and I was doing the healing, then yes, then they'll feel it in there, like you did when you felt it, obviously.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And everybody else did. I had loads of people come up to me and say, "Oh, look, Ray, I felt it here. I felt it here. I could see color. Oh my God, all this kind of stuff." And I have that all the time. Even a police friend of mine who was a riot police guy. He went to a big soccer match. He had a brick thrown at his knee. He couldn't walk. He's a real, hard man. And he said to me, I knew him from university. He said, "Doug, I don't believe in your healing stuff, but I'll give it a go because I'm desperate." And he lay down. He saw these colors and these weird feelings, and he got up and he was like wide-eyed, going, "What the bleep was that all about?" And he was back running within a week. So it's a massive, massive difference, in terms of what this kind of stuff can affect, and it's all down to energy. But I also believe it's all down to a mix of the heart and head connection, and the head being a receptor, the heart is another brain in my viewpoint as well. And it's about getting into that heart space, coming from a place of love, and you can change everything in your life if you stay there. But what happens is we have this subconscious programming of our path that's like this. This is how I think, this is how I speak, this is how I act. And then suddenly when we become more self-aware, we create this other path over here. But what happens is that if people aren't consciously aware all the time and they go back into their ego, they flick back to here. And then they go back to here when they're having an easy time. But then when they get into a bit of tough times, they go back to here. So it's
Mhm.
it's really a challenge to be able to stay and bring it up to this new path through that neuroplasticity, through purpose-driven awareness techniques, and through really connecting to here rather than here.
What came to my mind real quick that I wanted to touch on was, do you know Robert Greene? Uh, he's into human psychology.
I've heard of them, but I haven't read too much of them.
Well, he said something very relevant to me about the whole AI discussion, and I was like, he's dead on right. He was like, we have this, 3 pound, magnificent, probably the most magnificent piece of matter in the entirety of the universe that actually created the AI. And basically, we're focusing on the wrong thing. It's like we created the AI and we're giving AI our power. It's becoming like a demigod, basically, when really this is what we should be focused on, or the heart, too, because I agree, science shows there's neuroplasticity of the heart as well. And the rest of epigenetic code of the organs and all of that. So I think we're just focused on the wrong thing, and I think that's why so many people are kind of confused in some way.
I totally agree. I think it was, I'm going to get his surname wrong. You might know him. Greg, is it Bryson? He works with Joe Dispenza quite a lot. Uh,
I know Joe, but I don't know. In fact, Joe was helped me facilitate my own healing, but I'm not sure of this gentleman. No.
yeah, so this guy Greg Bryson or Bright, I apologize, Greg, if you're listening to this,
Yeah.
because I actually really respect the guy, and he's on par with Joe Dispenza, who I've met and actually spent an evening with out on the beer here in Dublin. But
Yeah.
Greg was saying on a podcast I was listening to, I think it was with Lewis Howes, and he was saying that the one thing about AI is that gradually, they might talking about like AI implants and all that kind of stuff. It's going to take away our creative side because we all have that analytical side, our left brain, and then
Yeah.
we have our creative side, which is our right brain.
Mhm.
And really, the beauty in art, the beauty in writing a book that's uniquely to do with your story rather than just copying other people's stories,
Mhm.
and so many other things, a song. All of these things come from our right brain, our creative side of brain. And if we become more and more reliant on AI, um, you and I probably, I don't know how you're a little bit younger than me, but I was, before mobile phones, I knew every single one of my landline numbers of all my friends, and I knew them off by heart. And now I have to say I don't even know my own partner's number.
Sometimes, yeah.
And because it's on the phone, it's reliant on, yeah, this isn't less necessarily AI, but it's still a technological tool that's basically taking away a certain part of our brain capacity that we used in the past.
Mhm.
So I think AI is going to take more of that away from us, and it's going to take more of our humanity away from us.
Mhm.
So I wonder at one stage whether there will be a split of people who will use AI in a certain way, and I use AI. I have to say, ChatGPT is brilliant, but at the
Yep.
same time, they will then perhaps think, you know what? I want to be creative. I want to write that article for the newspaper or the magazine because I do that myself. And actually, I've tried just using it. When you come from that real creative side of you, I
Mhm.
don't. I've written articles for newspapers, and then I've tried to do them with the AI if I've been short of time. It's never the same. Never the same. And because it comes from a different place when it's coming from your own personal, unique perspective. Whereas AI is just taking everything that's ever been written and mixing it all up and trying to come up with the best idea. But you are uniquely you. You have a unique story, a unique way of thinking, a unique way of speaking, and bring that to the world. That's your gift. All of us have that. And even if you have and go through brain damage, the lady who I worked with, as I said earlier on, who actually she came to me for she was going to do a TEDx and she was coming to me for speaker training and presentation skills training. And I said to her, I said, I won't say her name, but I said, I feel that you have an emptiness inside of you. And she said, she dropped her mouth and she said, how do you know that? I was like, well, what do you mean? She said that she'd had her stomach removed. And I said, well, I just felt it. I felt energetically there was something that was missing inside. And it was the stomach, but it was also, she didn't feel connected to her heart self as well. Um, and now she's out there having accepted where she is now, and acceptance is one of the most beautiful things, is she's now out there, turning her message into a message, inspiring people with her story, and she is much happier and much more connected to her heart. And that's what we need.
It is. It is what we need.
And
I think.
AI can't do that. So
Ex-
AI is left brain, boom.
Yeah.
It can only be created by creating something that's already been created.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, it can come up with ideas based on other people's stuff. But I think it's still going to be our unique selves that bring the most real energy to the world, regardless of how good this thing gets.
Exactly. We are creative beings, and a thought is an act of creation in itself. So, I think it would be a great transitionary point that we go into this healing and give this a go. Just not only selfishly for myself, but also for listeners.
Okay, well, I'm going to just going to frame it first for
Sure.
listeners. So this you need to get into, you don't need to, but it helps if you get into a seated position as if you're about to meditate. And I'm going to be bringing you through a guided meditation and just go with it. Just literally go with it. And we're going to be going through different parts. So I'm going to describe it first so that people get an idea in a very quick way. So first you're going to breathe deeply into your heart with love, expand the heart, feel the love, and then send it to other areas of the body. And then we're going to get then after that, next stage really is to start breathing inwards and intentionally almost upwards. And then as you breathe outwards, intentionally almost downwards. And you could do that. Either you can do that naturally, because some people can feel the intention of sending the energy up and down their spine, or you just think of different points in your body. So your top of your head, your forehead, your throat, your heart, your solar plexus, your tummy, belly button, and your bottom of your bum, and maybe your knees and your feet. And just visualize as you breathe inwards, all those different points going upwards, and visualize outwards when out breath going down again. And this creates an energetic sense of movement within the body. And then we're going to send the energy down as if we're going to the center of the earth, connecting and grounding, because I truly believe grounding is very important because if you are grounded, you're going to be less distracted. And I find I've worked with some people who got ADHD and stuff like that. If they are really grounding themselves on a regular basis, there's less distraction. I actually believe that a lot of ADHD people, yes, there is genuine chemical stuff, but I also believe that there is potentially that these people are highly sensitive to energy, and they're being distracted by other people's thoughts and speech in the
Mm.
vibrational waves of the energy, and it's just kind of like bam, 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 and they're like, oh, what's going on? So
Mm.
grounding is very important. If anybody hasn't seen the Earthing movie out there, look it on YouTube. It's very good. It'll give you an idea of what kind of stuff can be done with it. And so we're going to send grounding down to imagining there's like an energetic pool of water there, bringing that back up around us to create a grounding sensation. Then we're going to go into our heart space. We're going to bring that white light, violet into here. Violet light, expand it round like a bubble of light, visualizing it then moving around you, almost like a tunnel around you, around your body. And you can imagine that it's then pulling out any of those energies such as anger, resentment, lack of forgiveness, and guilt away from you and being channeled back up almost to the heavens as such, being transmuted back into love and light. And while we're doing that, I'm then going to, at that point, say two prayers. And just to caption this, these two prayers are spiritual, they're not religious for everybody out there. I believe that whether it be Muhammad, Allah, Muhammad, Jesus, Buddha, I believe they're like ascended masters. So they became God realized, or whatever it is, and that kind of gave this feeling of being connected, as I said earlier on, to universal consciousness all the time, and following that subconscious programming path of a state of awakened awareness rather than the other. And because that was happening all the time, their vibration became so high that I believe they were almost God realized. And that's just my feeling. I believe religions, by the way, just to caption that for people who are listening, are like beautiful things. They're all beautiful. They're all like rivers to the sea being God, Allah, universal consciousness, whatever you believe in. I believe in love. And if you can get to that state, and I believe you can get to a state of love, the only thing then you'll project out is love. Because as I said earlier on, hurt people, but people who have true self-love for themselves tend to be able to control them and send that love out to others as well. So you're going to expand that energy out. I'm going to say a few prayers. The first prayer is to kind of talk to that energy that you might have held on to release it up, to let it go. And then the second prayer is just to protect your energy and everything like that. And then we're going to bring that energy back in. The final part of it is me bringing, I call them angels, but as I said, there's 7 different strands of energy with different colors to basically bring different strands of energetic healing towards the body so that then you can release whatever it is. And then the final bit then is just to say thank you, and it'll be done. So that's the plan. It'll be a little bit longer than that explanation, as you know. But anybody listen to this now, just surrender and go with it. It won't do you any harm. I've had the most unreligious, unspiritual people do this with me, big CEOs earning kind of millions of dollars or euros or whatever. And afterwards, they've said, well, I have to say, Doug, I do feel very much at peace. So, worst case scenario, that will happen. Best case scenario, you might find something miraculous and amazing happens in your life. I always find that people I work with, something good happens to them. So, if you're listening to this now, maybe something good could happen to you. As I said, it is better in the moment if you're doing it with me one-to-one or in a group situation live, but maybe somebody might get something out of this. Okay, are you ready?
Already.
Okay, let's rock and roll. So if I can ask everybody to literally close your eyes and put your hands in your lap and start breathing deeply into your heart with love. And as you breathe into your heart, feel a sense of love for your heart. Feel a sense of gratitude for the blood it pumps, the emotions it brings, and the life it gives. And as you breathe in, really feel that love in the area of your chest. And then as you breathe out, send that love energy to anywhere in your body that you might need. It may be an old injury. It may be a situation where you might need to send to your head because you're overthinking, or you're struggling with stress or mental health. But breathe in with love into the heart and energetically send that love energy on the out breath to wherever you need it within your body. And as you feel that love coming into the heart and out to the areas that you need it, just start to focus on different areas of the body and relax them further. Start to feel your facial muscles relax. Start to feel your chest relax. Start to feel your neck and your shoulders relax. Start to feel your back and your arms relax. Start to feel your torso and your legs relax. And start to feel the energy of your feet sink into the ground. And as you continue the breath, now I want you to visualize a beautiful white light coming down from above you, surrounding and embodying your entire being. And white light represents peace, harmony, and love. So start to feel that. See it in your mind's eye. Feel a sense of peace and love. And as you continue the breath, feeling a sensation of even more relaxation, start to send the energy of the in-breath up the spine, like I mentioned earlier. And on the out-breath, send the energy down the spine, all the way down to your feet. Breathing inwards and upwards and outwards and downwards. And as you continue the breath, really focus on any points within the body that you think are slightly tense, and send the love energy from the heart to those areas, releasing and letting go. And as you continue the breath, go into your heart space, feel the energy in your heart, breathe into your heart with love, and on the next out breath, send that energy with intention down your torso, down your spine, down your legs, and down into the center of the earth, as if you have roots coming from your feet and the bottom of your spine, down in and connecting with the center of the earth. Breathing inwards and upwards, outwards and downwards, connecting with a beautiful energetic pool of water in the center of the earth. Imagining that pool is full of healing energy. So as you breathe inwards and upwards, imagine that water coming all the way up the roots, up your legs, up your torso, and around your body. And as you breathe outwards, breathe back down with intention to that energetic pool of water again, creating a sense of healing, but also grounding. Inwards and upwards, outwards and downwards, feeling a sense of love, grounding, and energy connection to the earth. And as you continue the breath, sending the energy downwards and outwards, upwards and inwards, start to feel even more relaxed, start to feel connected. And now I want you to visualize a beautiful violet light coming down from above, connecting and integrating throughout your whole being. And as you feel that energy surrounding you, encapsulating you, feel a sense of heightened energy, a sense of heightened health, a sense of heightened being. See it all around you, this purpley pinky light. And go into your heart space again and visualize that violet light in your heart as like a bubble. And expand that bubble of light around your whole body, around your whole auric field. Feel it, see it, and know it's now around you. And start to see it revolve slowly in a clockwise direction, slowly moving around you. And see it change shape to almost like an upward funnel, funneling energies up to the heavens above. And as you see this funnel, or like a tunnel all around you, moving in a clockwise direction, I want you to visualize a person who may have wronged you, an experience that felt horrible, or a place that you didn't enjoy. Imagine them as playing cards of memories, and imagine them now being pulled out of your being, away from you, into this violet funnel, almost like a tornado, slow moving tornado, taking these energies of anger, resentment, lack of forgiveness, guilt, fear. Any of these now are being pulled away from you. Visualize them in your mind's eye. See those people, those energies, those grudges now being let go. And as the energy starts to dissipate and move away, I will now say the two prayers that will help, firstly, send those energies away, and secondly, protect and seal your energy. Dear ones, you are loved, blessed, healed, and forgiven. You're loved, blessed, healed, and forgiven. You're loved, blessed, healed, and forgiven. You are one with your own higher self. You are one with your own Christ consciousness. You're full and surrounded with the Christ light. You're full and surrounded with the Christ love. You're free from fear, free from pain, free from all earth, planetary, interdimensional, and other vibrations of love and light. I call on Jesus Christ to take you to your own perfect place of peace, a place of love, a place of light, a place where you can achieve your own highest potential. Go in peace, go in light, go in love, go with Jesus, go now, and so be it. Ephemeral times, ephemeral times, ephemeral times. Go in peace, go in light, go in love, go with Jesus, go now, and so be it. Ephemeral times, ephemeral times, ephemeral times. Peace, go in light, go in love, go with Jesus, go now, and so be it. Ephemeral times, ephemeral times, ephemeral times. I call on Lord Melchizedek and ask the Order Melchizedek to come down and put his vortex of white shining light all around Brody and all around anybody else that's listening to this now, and lift all entities, negative thought forms and blockages to the light with love. I call on my nearest celestial mirrors, please come down and cut all karmic ties and take all negativity up to the light with love. Please clear the rooms, clear the houses, the apartments, and go to the light with love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So it is, and so it is, and so it is. I now know that Brody and anyone else listening to this auras are cleansed, cleared, healed, and sealed with the indestructible, invincible, exhaustible, loving light, energy, vibration, and consciousness of the Christ. I now know that your auras are close to all but your I am self, and nothing can penetrate your auras without your I am self permission. I call on Archangel Michael and ask you, Lord Michael, please fill and surround Brody and these wonderful people with your blue light of protection and healing. Cover them, 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 cover them. To the front, to the back, to the left, the right, above and below, and center. So nothing can penetrate their auras at any level without your divine permission. Thank you, Father, Mother God, and thank you, Lord Michael. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is, and so be it, and so be it. I now call on the angels, and I ask the angels now to come down and put this beautiful, different lights all around Brody and anybody listening to this now. I call upon Archangel Gabriel, and thank you, Archangel Gabriel, for putting your white light of love, wisdom, guidance, and healing all around Brody and all around anybody else who's listening to this now. And just visualize, if you're listening to this, a beautiful white light all around within you, connecting, healing, and giving you guidance in the right direction. And then I call upon Archangel Raphael, and I thank you, Archangel Raphael, for putting your green light of healing all around Brody, all around anybody who's listening to this now, healing anything from the past that might need to be healed, or any energetic misalignment, or any ailment, or any injury in any way or form. And just visualize this beautiful green light representing maybe nature, or green grass, or a tree, or whatever it is. Visualize that greenery all around you, sending healing energy towards you. And I call upon Archangel Shamiel, and I thank you, Archangel Shamiel, for putting your pink light of love and healing all around Brody, all around anybody who's listening to this now. And just visualize a beautiful pink light, especially in your heart, sending love to your heart with this beautiful pink energy. And just visualize that all around within you, especially in your heart. Then I call upon Archangel Jophiel, and I thank you, Archangel Jophiel, for putting your sunshine yellow rays of illumination, illuminating all the cells within Brody's body or anyone else listening's body, so that all their cells are illuminated into the highest frequency of perfect health. And just visualize a sunshine yellow rays of energy coming down and surrounding your body, energizing them with positivity and love. I call upon Archangel Zadkiel, and I thank you, Archangel Zadkiel, for putting your violet rays of transmutation, transmuting anything negative into positive, whether it be psyche or physicality in any way or form, in Brody and anybody else listening to this healing now. And just visualize this beautiful violet light all around within you, heightening your energy, transmuting anything lower frequency into higher frequency, so that you feel in perfect health, harmony, and love. And then I call upon Archangel Uriel, and I thank you, Archangel Uriel, for putting your ruby red gold light all around within Brody, grounding all of this healing in. Red represents grounding, this beautiful healing energy now, grounding in all of this healing energy within this healing into Brody and whoever else is listening to this now. And just visualize a red light grounding all this healing in. And then finally, I call upon Archangel Michael again, and I ask you, Archangel Michael, to seal this healing with your blue light of protection and healing, sealing all the other energies in. And just visualize a beautiful blue light all around within you, sealing all of these energies in. Dear Mother, Father God, please send a special blessing to all the Ascended Masters, Archangels, and any of the Divine Being has helped with this energetic healing on Brody and anybody listening to this now. And let their healing be done now. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is, and so be it, and so be it, and so be it. And now just visualize all the energies now of pure love, all those colors, all those energies coming back into your heart, knowing that you've released the negativity and you're increasing the vibration and increasing the positivity within your heart. Feel it and see it. See that violet light, that was that violet funnel that was going around you now, is back into your heart, embodying in your body, in your soul, and in your auric field as well. Have a knowing that you have had this divine healing through divine intelligence. Have a knowing that things will be better in whatever form going forward now. So it is, and so it is, and so it is. And just slowly start to feel yourself back into consciousness, feeling your feet and your toes and moving them, your legs, your knees, your torso, your chest, your arms, your head, your fingers start to move. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes.